1815, the same day Bonaparte escapes his exile in Elba, we meet white-eyed sailor Edmond Dante. He had just arrived in Marseille with the ship Pharaon, delivering the news that the captain of the ship had died. The ship's owner, Mr. Morel, immediately promotes him to captain. Junior Officer Danglars is seething with jealousy in the corner because of this. He meets up with Fernand Mondego, a rival of Dante due to his attraction to the man's fiancée Mercedes, and Caderousse, who doesn't have personal stakes here and is simply too drunk to object. They plot against Dante, wanting to accuse him of being a Bonapartist. They are victorious in their accusation, because when the Pharaon's captain was dying, they had stopped in the Isle of Elba. Dante had received a letter from Napoleon to deliver to a mysterious person back in Marseille, and for some reason Dante had agreed to do that, even though he knew who Napoleon was. The deputy crown prosecutor, Villefort, burns the letter when he discovers it's for his father, a known Bonapartist. Knowing that fact could ruin his career in a monarchist France, Villefort sentences Dante to life's imprisonment. He stays on the Chateau d'If for 14 years, and, on the 6th, meets an elderly priest when he accidentally digs into his cell. The man teaches Dante many things, like chemistry and mathematics. He also tells Dante about the location of a vast treasure hidden on the island of Monte Cristo. After the priest dies of a very 1800s disease, catalepsy, Dante takes his place in a body bag and manages to escape. Through some pirate shenanigans, Dante retrieves the treasure the priest had told him about. After recompensating Mr. Morel, the ship owner who had tried to help him not get arrested, Dante learns that Mercedes has married Fernand and had a son with him, Albert. Oh, and also that his father had died. Rough. Dante swears revenge. Then, 9 years later, Dante starts his plan. With the treasure, he gives himself a flashy new title and makeover. He transformed into the mysterious Count of Monte Cristo, entering Parisian society. He had changed so much in those years in jail that no one recognized him, apparently. All his enemies had gotten extremely rich. Mondego was now the Count of Morcerf, Danglars turned into a baron and a banker, and Villefort was a prosecutor for the king. The first one the Count went after was Villefort. He learned through inside sources that Villefort had an affair with Madame Danglars many years ago that had resulted in a child, even though he already had a wife and a daughter. Villefort had tried to bury the secret, quite literally, but someone had saved the baby. The Count reveals what Villefort had done to the public. It is a massive scandal and ends with Villefort's wife dying and his reputation ruined. Then it was Mondego's turn. After digging around, the Count learned that what had made Mondego so rich was murder and war crimes. The Count publishes this in the French newspapers, and this causes the man's son, Albert, to challenge the Count to a duel. Mercedes, having recognized him as Dante's, apparently being the only person to do so, convinces the two not to kill each other. Albert publicly apologizes to the Count because his mom told him to, but these divulgences cause him and his mother to leave Mondego. Mondego confronts the Count of Monte Cristo, who reveals his identity as Dante. Having lost everything he had, Mondego commits die. With Caderousse, the Count wanted to vindicate his father's death. The man had starved to death after Caderousse took all the money they had left. The Count disguised himself and gave Caderousse a diamond. Caderousse sold the diamond only to kill the person he was selling it to and his own wife for some reason. Caderousse becomes involved with a false nobleman, Cavalcanti. He ends up stabbing Caderousse in the back, having struck a deal with, so in the end he dies. Great revenge. The last one he gets vengeance against is Danglars. He had been the one to write the letter condemning Dante. Knowing that Danglars craves money and power, the Count convinces Danglars to invest 6 million francs in a venture he knows will fail. And, through a series of sabotages, Danglars ends up losing 100 million instead. But at this point, the Count feels pretty generous, and seeing Danglars begging for forgiveness, he lets him go. I guess it was Danglars' lucky day. Having finally enacted his revenge in an ending that doesn't exactly chastise him for having ruined lives, Dante happily spends the rest of his days in the Middle East with a Greek wife. No, he doesn't get back with Mercedes. I know, right?